This is Capsule on liveinlimbo.com. My name is Sean Chin.
And I am Andreas. This is an adventure into music, film, and pop culture.
Well, hello, hello. How art thou?
Um, I don't know what I is in olden day speak. I was gonna say thou, but that would mean you. But I ist good. That sounds more German now.
I trumped a lot of people with that today. I don't know why I kept saying that today, but you can say like, fine, I say,
Fine, I say.
or something like that.
But I'd rather be German.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you know like Scotland is trying to separate from England right now? So all of that's all weird right now. It's like
Weren't they
Quebec.
always?
No, they're trying to like officially separate, and Sean Connery is leading the movement.
Sean Connery's leading the movement for Scotland to separate.
Yes.
That interesting. I actually don't have any words for that. I've just only discovered that now. I knew about the separating, but I didn't know that Sean Connery was a pivotal speaker.
I'm named after Sean Connery, right?
I did not know that.
Well, now you all know that.
Sean Chinnery. There we go.
Yeah. So we have a very packed show for you all. We're going to start off with a little backtracking to Riot Fest, and then we're going to talk about Apple's big announcements, U2, and then we're going to get into an interview that you did with Sonata Arctica.
Yes.
And then we're going to end off with some good old Kanye West.
But not without some Sean Connery first.
That's right. All right, so
I'm usually better than that. I'm not going to try again, though, for the sake of time.
Do not try that again.
I'm usually better, but anyways.
Maybe by the end of the episode, you'll be like in the right mood for that. No. Okay. Anyways, so heading back, I think it was like 2 weeks ago now, you got to attend what I consider to be the final festival of the year before winter starts, which is Riot Fest.
It is, and oddly enough, it was only actually it wasn't last week. It was a weekend before that. So technically it was just over a week, not 2 weeks, but still it felt like years ago.
Yeah, I know. With the internet speed, we're all going super fast.
Super fast.
Like this show has been alive for like forever now.
It's my first one, so I've never been before, but yeah, I've got to say.
This was your first Riot Fest, eh?
Yeah, I've never been to one ever.
But you agree with me that in comparison to like Turf and Field Trip and Time Festival, Riot was the coldest, right?
Like temperature?
Yeah, temperature wise.
I was gonna say, like, I thought you meant reception wise. I was like, I've got news for you.
No.
It wasn't so bad. I mean, I'm somebody who doesn't really feel cold a lot, so I don't really mind.
Oh, you're big. You have padding. But like I heard it was really muddy and it was cold.
Now, the mud, on the other hand, my shoes still haven't recovered. I spent over an hour cleaning my boots.
Oh my God.
And they still look like crap. But I gave up. I just got tired.
The mud was that bad, eh?
It was bad enough that your shoes would almost fall off if you took certain steps.
Wow.
Like you had to like pull them out each step you took. It was really bad.
And I'm sure there were people there in heels.
I don't know about heels, but I saw people in Converse and like flip flops. Some people just took off their shoes and they just went barefoot. They just didn't even care.
Sarah had her red Converse shoes on, so
right. So those must have been ruined.
Yeah.
It was an in joke where a lot of people who were going for the second day only, they didn't know where to go, like from Downsview Station, and I just heard people say, "Follow the muddy shoes. That's where you know where to go." You know.
All right, so Riot Fest was, I think, jam-packed with a star-studded lineup. And so what acts did you really want to see before heading out there?
The Flaming Lips I really wanted to see. The Cure, because, well, they're legends, obviously. So who wouldn't want to see The Cure? Buzzcock, speaking of legends, legendary punk act that I was really surprised to see even on the lineup at all. That was pretty cool. Metric, simply because I haven't ever seen Metric live. Oddly enough,
and they're Canadian, yeah.
Yeah, I saw Emily Haynes jump on stage during Kevin Drew's act, oddly enough. So that was like the closest I've ever been until now. But Yeah, I finally got to see them live now.
And you saw City and Color not too long ago as well at the Air Canada Center. So
Right.
I guess it's good to see him again. He's
Right.
still
Exactly.
alive.
Yeah. He's of course he's still around, doing a pretty similar act.
So so that's who you were looking forwards to. And then when you actually got there, who actually like took it to the next level for you? Like who really impressed you that you didn't think was going to?
Well, a few, but the quickest answer I can say, which I publicly said, I guess, through social media on the day of, was the Antwoord, which I've
Your
given them.
fellow South Africans.
Yeah, Zeph as fuck. I've given them a lot of grief. Like, well, not personally, because I've never talked to them, but I've just never given them the benefit of the doubt for
Really?
the past couple of years.
Even I liked them for a long time.
I didn't truly get what they were. I mean, I get that they're a joke and an act, but I still didn't truly get it until I saw them live.
Is that because they made fun of Lady Gaga and you love Lady Gaga?
I don't care about that. If people have beef with one another, like okay, Sun Kill Moon and War on Drugs performed at a festival. I'm pretty sure Live in Limbo covered it, like a few days ago, and
the Ottawa Folk Festival.
I might have been that, and yeah, Sun Kill Moon was basically bashing War on Drugs, basically saying this next song is called "Fuck the War on Drugs," I think, or something like that. Or it's something really stupid like that. Right after I just posted a review of saying, Sun Kill Moon were nice and pleasant in Toronto, unlike North Carolina, but at least we got to see the good side of this concert, I guess. Like right afterwards, and I'm not going to dislike any band even more, so I really don't care. I didn't even know that they were bashing on Lady Gaga until like after I started liking them, and again, I couldn't care less if they did or if they didn't.
That's interesting. So you saw Sun Kill Moon and the War on Drugs separately.
Yep. I saw them yesterday, and apparently they had a bit of a squabble.
That review and your photos will go up tomorrow.
Well, by the time this podcast,
exactly,
it's already in the future. No, but so the Antwoord, I got to see what they're all about. They're not like just an act or just like the whole poverty yet looking classy kind of thing. That's what Zeph is. I've learned. They're as anti-rap as possible, while still being good at rapping. And I finally get it now. I actually got myself a Antwoord t-shirt.
They converted you.
Yeah, I'm not going to say
I haven't seen them live. I would love to see them live. Next time they come, I will do that.
A big improvement compared to the studio work, which I've dived into a little bit. It's pretty good. Some stuff really stands out. Some of it I'm not really into, but live is a whole other story. They're pretty crazy live.
Leon Weinstein, who also writes for Live in Limbo, he was there. Just as a festival goer, he won tickets from Now Magazine or something.
Okay.
And then he was close up to them, and he said that he saw Ninja take someone's gum from their mouth, and he chewed it and then gave it back to them.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that they were doing.
They were like Zeph as fuck, as you said before.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, the crowd is pretty crazy. There was somebody who was essentially almost naked except for shorts on and like tape over the suggestive parts. There were fights, beer being sprayed all over the place. Well, every other audience I was a part of at Riot wasn't nearly as insane. So
does Yolandi actually sound like that when she sings, like that high pitched voice? Is that her actual voice? Wow.
Yeah, and she does kind of like.
Well, is that like a thing in South Africa? Are a lot of people like that?
I don't believe so. No.
Okay.
I think it's just being anti-rap. She's kind of like a play on the kind of person that Flava Flav would be, where she would actually reenact kind of like siren sounds that you would kind of find in hip hop songs, just like going like high pitched vocals. I'm not going to do it, but being the hype person. But of course, she can rap. If you've checked out the band, you know that by now. But no, she sounds exactly like that. And she was saying "Thank you, Toronto" and everything. She sounds virtually like that. Unless that's part of the act, but she could pull it off in person. It's not like a studio edit or anything.
Wow, that's cool. And so throughout the whole day, you got a lot of traction on social media, on Twitter and all of that.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Was that your first time like actually experiencing all of these big retweets and all that?
Not the first time. The very first time, I kind of sent a joke tweet to Jason Alexander, who is of course George from Seinfeld, and he retweeted it, and suddenly I got like a lot of like older people, I guess, who were fans of Seinfeld who grew up with it, like middle-aged people, kind of trying to take what I was saying into like actual political debate. I was like, really, it's a joke. You don't have to you don't have to reply to me. But in terms of something that I'm actually serious about, then yeah, it's the first time I've gotten a lot of ground, and it was because of a few bands. Because I covered Brand New, Flaming Lips, Buzzcocks, Social Distortion, and there was one other band that just got me hundreds of retweets.
How did that feel?
Pretty good. I mean, when Riot Fest, the festival you're covering, starts to follow you after like 5 tweets that you do, that's not too shabby.
No, that's awesome. And so, do you feel like before, when you started writing at Live in Limbo, you were hesitant, very hesitant to start using Twitter? Now, how do you feel about it? Are you getting the hang of it now?
I have the hang of it. I still hate it though.
Oh my god! But do you see how it's useful?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I'm still using it. I'm not saying that it's useless. That's not why I dislike it. I just dislike it.
Like for me, I find Facebook more of a personal thing, and like you want to keep that with just your close friends. And Twitter is something like where you can broadcast out to the masses, but still keep to yourself a little bit.
That's a good way to put it. I kind of like being in depth. If you couldn't tell by podcasts and reviews, I kind of like to extend on things. I never just like to say, oh, this is okay or this is fine. I like to actually give input. So 150 characters isn't enough.
140.
10 less. Okay, there you go.
That's a huge difference.
It is when it's at that amount. Anyways, yeah, so I like to really dive into things, but I've gotten the hang of it a little bit. Of course, I can still improve, but yeah.
And what were your thoughts on The Cure then?
The Cure are really good live. I mean, they're pretty stripped down and laid back. They don't have like too much going on. They have a bit of a simple light show. They just play the hits. It's interesting because live, the songs that are really creepy, like a lot of stuff on Disintegration or their older material, it really sounds kind of friendly live, and they don't really change anything at all.
Do you think you ever would see them live? They're like a big name that you don't normally run across at a festival.
Like outside of the festival? Because I did see them live.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like they usually have their own show.
Oh, like willingly. Absolutely. Because what I've heard is they go on for hours and hours and hours. They usually play full albums, like not just one, but they play like 2 or 3 and an extra set. They usually go full out. And I would love to see that, especially because...
how long did they play?
Just like an hour and a bit. Wow. Okay. Or like an hour and a half, maybe 2. It wasn't that long. But they certainly didn't play full albums. But the problem is at Riot Fest, there were 4 stages. There was... the Rebel stage, which had like local bands, I think that was really far. I can't remember the Rock stage, which was its own little separate stage, but it had like a lot of like the heavier acts, like Bring Me the Horizon, Antwoord were there, Clutch was there, and then you had like the 2 main stages, which were the Rock stage and the Root stage, like right beside each other, blocked in the middle by a barricade. So I was at the very front for Flaming Lips, and the problem is, they were too organized. So virtually as soon as one band on, let's say, the Rock stage or the Root stage was finished, then on the Riot stage, they'd start immediately. Like they were very on time. So right as soon as Flaming Lips ended, on the other stage, like the main stage, the Riot stage, The Cure started. And I was so far, there was no way I could have gotten close, which is kind of unfortunate because it's The Cure, right? But at the same time, the Flaming Lips was possibly the best solo band I've seen this entire year. I mean, they were incredible.
You've like this whole year so far, you've just been like one-upping. You've seen bands that kept one-upping each other.
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy, and that's not just because it's my first year doing photography or anything, or reviewing rather, and I have all this exposure. It's just I still hold the Swans the St. Vincent concert as like the most complete, best concert experience of the year. But the best solo band keeps kind of like the title keeps changing. Like Nine Inch Nails had the crown, Flaming Lips did, Swans obviously. Swans are interesting because they're just different live. Like it's not even like a concert. It's a different alien kind of thing that you're witnessing. So
and you got to enjoy it with me.
Yes, and it was a tell me that wasn't incredible.
No, I've never seen a concert like that. Like a band that has albums not play albums.
Right, or they played a few songs, but they didn't play them even remotely the same.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
It was just a sonic experience. That's what Swans is live, and that was insane in the middle of Yonge Square in a city.
20,000 people right in the heart of the city. That's like incredible.
Yeah, it was pretty great. But speaking of audiences and shows I've been to, the crowd at Flaming Lips was pretty interesting. A lot of middle-aged people. I don't really know what they were on, but first of all, it was the first time I've ever had my earplugs questioned ever.
Really? What did they say?
At first, somebody said, "Hey, why are you wearing that?" And I didn't think they were talking to me because I was at the very front, so they were talking to my back. And then they just started like stroking my back, and I turned around and was like, "What?" And she's like, "Why do you wear those things?" And I instantly figured earplugs, and I was like, "Well, I do this." This is an explanation for anyone listening, by the way. Now you'll know that all of us at Live on the Move wear earplugs, and this is why. It doesn't block out the sound at all. It just cuts out like the really high frequencies. But we like to keep our hearing so we could keep reviewing, right?
Exactly. And photographing.
Yeah,
especially
exactly.
Photographing.
Exactly. More so even. It's even if a concert's not loud, it's still enough to kind of do a little bit of sensitivity to your ears, just to make them like a little bit aware that there's loud sounds. So the more pummeling you get afterwards, the more damage will pile up on top. It's just a safety precaution. And then, like,
what did she say?
I'm not entirely sure. She didn't really get the full picture of it, but after like telling her 3 times I have spares if she needs it, because she kind of said I'd wear them if you had them. I said I do, and she kept kind of like not noticing that I said that. I don't know what she was on.
Did you get any of what she was on?
No, I didn't.
Was this like an elderly lady?
What's that?
Was this an elderly lady?
No, just in our 40s.
Oh, 40s, wow.
Yeah, middle-aged or so. Even if you would be angry if I had anything that she was on. But I don't think I'd want to. I think that's more than
the review would just be like W all the way. Like holding down the key.
I don't think you understand how these things work, Sean. But nonetheless, that what she was on was probably outside of my comfort zone anyways. Like it must have been like E or something. I don't know.
I don't even know what E is.
Ecstasy.
Oh, ecstasy. Okay.
I mean, she kept using my body as like a tripod for a camera. She's like, "Don't mind if I lean on you," and stuff like
really?
that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Well, hey, you got to meet Wayne Coyne as well.
That I did, actually. Speaking of interesting moments.
Because of me.
Yes, you did alert me to the fact that he was at the media tent, which I did go to the media tent and he wasn't there, so I kind of gave up. But I didn't go back to find him. I went back because I had to actually charge my phone. My battery's just gotten really bad lately, so I was like, oh, damn, well, I have to charge my phone. At least now I know where the media tent is.
So it's time to get an iPhone.
No, it's not. So my instant disapproval of that statement is because he said this 3 times to me today already. Anyways, I went back to charge my phone and he was actually there. And I was like, oh, crap. Okay, Sean was right. And he must have just left while I was there earlier. So, yeah, thanks to your tip, I guess I knew that he was going to be there anyways, and it helped me find the media tent anyway, so that was helpful. I did need it. And so he did an interview with people from the Mounties, the Canadian supergroup. Really good if you haven't heard of them, by the way.
Wait, so they interviewed him?
Yep.
For what?
I'm not sure. It could have been the Edge because the Edge truck was there.
Oh, okay.
I'm not entirely sure, but a lot of interviews were being conducted there. Like members of New Found Glory were there, being interviewed by interns of Alan Cross. It was everyone was just coming in and out, right? No Robert Smith though. Anyways, he was busy fighting Barbra Streisand. I hope you get that joke. Yeah. You get that joke, right?
Yeah.
What is it?
No, you tell me. Explain it.
It's South Park, Sean. You don't remember Barbara Streisand turned into like a Mecha Godzilla.
Oh yeah,
And Robert Smith.
Was that the same episode?
Yeah, Robert Smith fights. He turns into Mothra.
That was like, what season was that? That's like
that was like
season
second or three. Yeah, it's pretty early. Anyways, I spoiled the joke for anyone who got it. Sorry, I had to explain it. Anyways, so Wayne Coyne was there, and I just
How
quickly.
Was he?
He's pretty cool. He was in a Rush show, so I didn't really get a chance to talk or anything. Was
he on anything too?
He's always on something. I don't even know at this point. So I just say, hey, I'm a big fan of the Flaming Lips. Actually, I'm here for media. Do you mind if I get a quick photo with you? And he said, don't worry, I am the king of selfies. Which, yeah, after that, he was clearly on something. And he starts trying to take a selfie. I hate that word, but that's what he said. And he kept pushing the button to take the picture because he didn't think they were working, and he just went from like tapping it to like tap 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 tap. He's like, I don't know if these are taking. So he took like 15.
Well, don't delete any of them. Like print each one out or something.
I uploaded them all to Facebook so you can kind of see like he's smiling and then he starts to look confused and then he's like talking midway. He's basically saying, I don't know if these are taking. He's like, am I on movie mode? I don't know what this is. And that was kind of it. He had to go somewhere. I was just like, thanks. And that was kind of it.
Wow. Another band that you saw that should be interesting was Death from Above 1979 because you reviewed their album, The Physical World. So and you didn't give them such a great review there, but how do you think their album compared to their live performance?
Well, to be clear, some people have liked the album. Some people have agreed with me. Like Pitchfork gave them a straight 7, so that's only like 2 points higher than what I gave them. And they kind of agreed with me. I've not read people. People have read my article and agreed with me. A lot of people have disagreed with me. And of course, it's subjective. You're allowed to feel whatever you feel with an album, right? I'm not telling you what's good and what isn't. I'm just saying from my perspective why it's good or why it's bad, and here's why, right?
Yeah.
So having said that, I didn't say it was like a crap album or anything in the first place. I just thought that, you know, the songs were okay, but they weren't great. Like they've done a lot better. They brought what I was wanting from the album, that sense of danger. They brought that live, which is nice. That's what I felt the album was missing. Right? Like I didn't expect it to be like as out of control as You're a Woman, I'm a Machine, but it just felt too groovy. Like it agreed with you instead of like bombarded you. That's what I feel like they do best. And that's what it felt like live. It felt like a Calamity live. And I thought it was a way better result. Like these songs were translated way better live.
Well, yeah. So then that makes sense because I know a lot of people really enjoyed them.
Yeah.
Live. And so what other crazy stories do you have from Riot?
Well, day 2, again, with this whole stage situation, it was tricky. And the problem is when I went to go see the Flaming Lips and I got to the front row, that's because I almost said Riot Fest. That's because Rise Against at Riot Fest, I guess, were at the Rock stage, which is a really distant one. And I said, you know what? There's no comparison here. I'll catch Rise Against another time. Let me just like enjoy the Flaming Lips, which are supposed to be like one of the best live bands, period, and they really are, in their full glory. So I did. The problem with day 2 is on the Rock stage was Buzzcocks, and on the Root stage, which is basically where the Flaming Lips were, was Metric. Both are pretty big bands, and both were pretty much essential for me to cover. Actually, I lied. It wasn't Rise Against. It was Billy Talent.
Poor Billy Talent.
It was Billy Talent that was on at the same time. Sorry, I did miss Rise Against too. I can't remember for who though, but I missed both of them. Anyway, so I got a little bit of the Buzzcocks. They were really good.
That is hard. Like they only allowed us to have one photographer and one reviewer, and I think all other outlets had the same deal. But there's 4 stages. Like how can anyone cover that?
Well, you'll find out. Because this is
properly.
Well, yeah. I'll tell you how I did my best because this is pretty interesting. So I got a bit of Buzzcocks. They're really good, especially at their age. They're really good live. Like the stuff just sounds so awesome live. Like it's got the same edge and everything. So I watched a little bit. I headed over to where Metric are supposed to play. Right? You know, I think it was a national that we're on like right before. like on the stage aside. I think it was a national. I get there and it's packed. Like there's actually thousands of people in front of me. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna get a good photo for the Live in Limbo Twitter page. I'm not gonna get a good spot. This is the best I can do. I was wearing a black T-shirt with um a bit of like a secular cow skull, I guess, with like symbols and stuff on it. I actually bought it at Riot Fest. I had a stand there that had these kind of T-shirts, and I bought it day one. I was wearing it the second day, and these two drunk guys see me and instantly named me Black Bull. So they say, "Come on, Black Bull, let's get to the fucking front." Yeah, like they're yelling and whatnot. They pull me, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going because this is going to get me closer.
Yeah, take it.
And they pushed so many people out of the way. So many people are getting angry, but they're like, let's go further. Let's go further. Come on, Black Bull. Let's do this. And I was like, okay, cool. So
so they were just plowing through and you were just following them?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Why did they choose you?
Because I was wearing a cow skull on my shirt.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Virtually the only reason that I think they really like that. So I got so close that I was probably like 7 rows of people like away from the stage, which considering I was at the very, very back of like maybe 50 rows of thousands of people, that's not so bad.
Did they know you were media?
No.
Oh, wow.
And they didn't even talk to me afterwards. They kind of like turned to me once. And this is before the band started playing. I actually got to that position before the band started playing. So I was nice and comfortable. I was ready, like trying to like write down the notes. I never write notes at shows, by the way, but Riot Fest was too much. I had to write notes this time around.
Exactly.
Writing my notes that I had. I was nice and comfortable and everything. And they only like turned to me once and kind of like screamed like, yeah, Metric. When Metric was actually on. And then they kind of left. I don't know what happened. But either way, they got me near the front. And I guess I'm Black
thank
Bull.
Those two.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thank you for branding me Black Bull, but not actually branding me because you see me as a bull, because that would be bad.
Hey, no, that should be your nickname now, Black Bull.
It could be.
Andreas Black Bull Babiolakis.
Andreas the Black Bull.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Right. So no one else showed you their like private area, like at Time Festival?
Did we talk about this on the podcast?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, because I don't remember actually. No, they didn't. Except, like I said, there was a woman who was like basically naked at the Antwoord, but that's about it. Oh. No private showings.
All right. So, and you can check out Andreas's review of both day 1 and day 2, along with Sarah's amazing photos at liveinlimbo.com, and just search for Riot Fest.
Yep, you're going to want to see those flaming lips and the Antwoord photos, absolutely. I mean, all of them are great, but just to see, if you want to see the live equivalent of LSD through the flaming lips, or ecstasy and heroin through the Antwoord, those are the best photos to check out. So,
exactly, yeah. Those are great. And so, on to other news. Apple was big in the news this and last week. In a nut jar, they announced 2 new models of the iPhone, the 4.7-inch iPhone 6, the 5.5-inch iPhone 6 Plus,
right?
A unique NFC payment service called Apple Pay, and finally the long coveted and rumored and unicorn Apple Watch. Did you see any of this presentation?
Not live, no, but I did see after the fact, yes.
Oh man, I watched it live. It was crazy. Like the live stream at the beginning was like retarded. Like it was crazy, and like a Mandarin subtitled person was speaking over everything. And then after it got better. I guess too many people were flooding their system, the servers and all of that.
I'm sure it was watchable and actually enjoyable that way.
And so anyways, I pre-ordered the 4.7-inch one. I woke up at 3 a.m. Eastern time, and the servers were down and like overloading, and I did not get to order one until 3:45. But hopefully I'm in the first shipment. I think I am, and I should be receiving it this Friday.
Okay.
Hopefully I got it. 64 gigabyte gold.
Interesting.
And so also at that event, U2 came on, and Bono kind of looked like did you see this part with Bono?
Again, not live, but after the fact.
He was like him and CEO Tim Cook were like having this non like scheduled or rehearsed act where they released their new album Songs of Innocence to 500 million iTunes accounts, and it made them $100 million US.
I wish it was a good album though.
And you reviewed this album and you gave it a 5.5 to coincide with the new 5.5-inch iPhone.
Well, the thing is, I was actually going to give it like a 5.3 or 5.7. I wasn't really sure because at first I was giving it like a 5.3 because I thought it was just close to just mediocre or abysmal. But then like Like Lee's contribution in one of the songs came on like towards the end, and I felt okay, it's a good guest contribution. I've got to take that into consideration. So I wanted to give it a few more points, like a 5.7 maybe, because at least because it ended off that way, it was kind of like a nice way to leave as opposed to like just hitting a brick wall at the end. But because I was stuck between the two, should I give it this or should I give it that? Do I really need to focus on this guest vocal that much? And you said, why not make it 5.5 as a joke because of the size of the phone? I said, screw it, why not? Because you know what? It's dead center in the middle and it kind of makes sense. And it helped me end off my review on a funny note. A very cynical note, but a very funny note.
And so a lot of people were complaining because this sounds funny. Like I know who U2 is and everyone like that I know probably knows who U2 is, but a lot of the newer generation of children don't know who they are, and then all of a sudden one day they go into their music app and they're like, there's an album here that I did not purchase or remember downloading. Who is U2?
And yeah,
it was weird because it was not like they didn't offer it on iTunes as a free album where you hit download. Like it automatically like downloaded to everyone's device.
Yeah, and I think it's silly because if the whole gimmick of it was for it to be like the biggest album release in history, that's silly because it's not in anyone's control. And I'm not against the fact that they did this, but if that's the reason that they did do it, the fact that it could be like the biggest album release in history, I think that's silly. I think it's kind of cheating because
it's a great marketing tool.
Like, is it really?
Like I was looking up the most sold albums ever, and Michael Jackson's Thriller is like 50 million. So this would put Songs of Innocence at 500 million.
Oh my god! And it's not even worth it. Thriller is actually good. Songs of Innocence is possibly U2's worst, actually. Well, and that's saying a lot.
Well, it's like 10 times platinum now.
But first of all, it didn't make, well, apart from the money that Apple gave them for it, it didn't make any money back from sales in that regard. Technically, it did, but not in the traditional sense.
It breaks down into like $4.99 per album, which is kind of on par with like a bulk discount sale for albums.
But again, at least if it was a good album, like if, let's say it was even like one of their albums from like the 2000s era and not this new one, I'd rather those, and those aren't even good. This one was just so catastrophically boring. And I'm not saying this because I hate U2, because you know you have a lot of people who are just very anti U2. I actually really like old U2, like Achtung Baby, obviously Joshua Tree, and not even just like the classic albums of theirs, but a lot of individual songs. I really like old U2 because I love their use of wall of sound. I think it's fantastic. They just can't write music anymore at all.
Poor fellows. Maybe that's why they did it. Anyways, so if you were really wondering how to get rid of it, Apple today, Tuesday, September 16th, have released a tool, and we'll link to it, where you can remove it from your library.
Right, because you have people like Tyler, the Creator, which actually had the words "fuck Bono" trending. I don't know if you saw that, but yeah, he was. I think it was in jest, but he did kind of speak for a lot of people when he was very publicly annoyed with U2. Like, man, why did this appear in my iTunes? That's not the way he said it. He said it in more vulgarity, but he was very annoyed, and so were a lot of people. Again, because at least if it was a good album, but sorry, U2, it isn't. I am a fan of yours, but It's not good.
Hey, they're $100 million richer.
Yeah, but at what cost? It's not a good album. And now this is going to be like, it's kind of like if you look at, I'm going to bring this publicly to the podcast once and for all. If there's anybody I'm very anti, it's Katy Perry. It's kind of like her singles matching Michael Jackson's single count. I'm pretty sure she's matched his record, if not beaten it at this point. I'm not sure, but she's come really close. Like the amount of singles off one album at once. Whereas his work is just, at the time, it was just so much hard work, sweat, and tears put into what he's done. I'm not saying that she's not a hard worker, but at this point, it's like record labels could just do whatever they please and they could just pull off this kind of feat quickly if they wanted to. It's not the same, and it's not a good indication of what good music is. Again, it's subjective. If you like Katy Perry, that's fine. But even if you're a big fan of Katy Perry, you can't really compare her to Michael Jackson. It's like, I love Crystal Castles, but I'm not going to compare them any day to like Kraftwerk or something, right?
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but they're like an evolution of it still. And to tie it all in together, Katy Perry tweeted something along the lines of, OMG, woke up this morning to find out the new iPhone has 128 gigabytes.
That's all she said?
Yes.
I was expecting a little bit more afterwards.
Oh, no. Well, I guess she has lots of music to store on there.
Don't get me wrong. I'm sure she might actually be a really nice person. It's just in terms of her business model. And
she's a very beautiful person.
She is kind of attractive, but I think there is a lot more attractive than she is.
Yeah, well, you try harder then. You can go try for it. Anyways,
well, she's taken, first of all.
Yeah, whatever. Okay.
So I have no chance. I'm not gonna take you on, Sean.
All right. Next topic. So you got to not only review, but you got to interview Sonata Arctica.
I did, actually.
So what does this band mean to you, and how do you know them?
Well, it's interesting because when I was in high school, I was heavily into metal and all forms of it. The more I've grown out of just being solely into metal, the more I've gone into like black metal or like a lot of like the more intense kind of forms of metal. Because I find that they're very expressive and like they're very emotionally charged, whereas like a lot of other metal genres are more technically inclined, or they have like a lot of like thematic elements to them. I'm not saying that black metal doesn't, but in a different sense, in a sense that I kind of drifted away from. And I used to be into stuff like Sonata Arctica in high school, like heavily. And I got to interview Toni Kakko and actually their new member, Pasi Kopinen, I believe his last name's pronounced, the new bass player.
Yes. And
they're both really nice guys, really, really chill. And it's reflective of their music because when I got to see them perform with Xandria and Delane, it's just a lot of fun. That's all it is. Like, it's not anything to take insanely seriously. It's just having a good time, sharing a drink with your friends. And like, again, it's not like my favorite genre of metal anymore, but they're good live. It's a lot of fun. And again, they're just really chill people. And I mean, we just got to talking, and I have a feeling if I didn't stay in the boundaries that Mod Club gave me with they said to take 10 minutes with the interview. I actually took 15 or so, but if I didn't stay within those confinements, we could have gone on for like at least half an hour, if not more.
And so let's take a listen to your interview.
Hi, I'm Tony. I'm Pasi. And we are from Sonata Arctica, and you're listening to Capsule podcast live on Limbo.
Perfect. And you're the new addition to the band, I believe.
The new guy, 1 year.
Welcome to the band, I guess. How's it been so far this year?
It's been really great.
Everything's been good?
I've seen lots of new places around the world, and playing shows has been really amazing.
Perfect. Which has been your highlight so far out of those places?
Canada has been.
You kind of have to say that,
right?
Specifically Toronto, right? Before it's even happened. No, but not only that, you also have the new album which came out earlier this year, Pariah's Child. And how has that gone for you guys? Your 8th album.
Really good. We had fun touring with it, because the album it's more generally speaking metal than what we did on the Stone Score Her Name, the previous album,
right?
Which was like our rock album, if you will, and it kind of slowed down the whole live set. They were really live friendly songs to play live, but it started to get boring in the long run, having too many of those songs on the set list. But now these new additions, they are really welcome change of pace, and they somehow blend much better into this Sonata Arctica form, if you will.
No, absolutely. So you're saying now that the live shows are a lot like better to what you were hoping to achieve with your concerts, or?
This is more of Sonata Arctica, I think, what people expect from us, because on Stone Score Her Name tour, I think we played quite a bit too much, with those Stone Score Her Name songs, which were slower rock, slow or mid-tempo, and none of those really speedy songs. I think I Have a Right was pretty much the fastest song we had,
right?
which is not much. So now we're back on the speedy stuff, and also celebrating at the same time the 15th anniversary of Sonata Arctica.
Well, congratulations!
Yeah, thank you very much, and re-releasing also Ecliptica, the debut album.
Right,
re-recorded that whole album and mixed it and everything, so it's going to be a special release as well, and because of that, we are also playing some of the songs we haven't played in a long time from that album live as well. So it's a nice blend.
That's perfect. So you've got basically almost your best of, if you will.
Sort of, yeah. Now. Although at the moment it seems like we are totally neglecting one album, Winter Hearts Guild. We have no song from that album.
Oh yeah,
yeah, on set list at all. So, but I think we are rehearsing and practicing new songs all the time.
Right.
Whenever we get a chance on soundcheck and everything. So I think we're gonna get something from there as well.
Perfect. Having said that, your band's been in the metal scene for a very long time, 15 years, of course, and you've seen its highs, you've seen its mid ranges when metal's become like a big kind of statement in pop culture, when it's kind of like subtle, become more subtle. How do you think metal is now, actually, with the newer bands that have come out, the bands that are still playing after all these years? How do you think the metal community is now?
Well, I think, especially in Finland, you can see that metal used to be the mainstream thing for way more than 10 years, and now it's slowly turning into another direction. We have like this rap act that is the biggest thing in Finland. When it used to be like Nightwish and other metal bands
and Bodom, like, right?
Yeah, Children of Bodom, of course, and him and such bands, and us and a few others as well. And but now it's the wheel is turning all the time, and I'm sure it takes some time, for that to turn back into metal again. And I think that's the worldwide trend as well at the moment. So, but metal music never goes anywhere. It has only become a little bit more underground thing in a way. Like, maybe I think it's a good thing, because it lost a lot of its it's a rebellion thing,
Right.
It became too pop culture thing. Yeah.
Some of it.
Yeah. So I think it needs to kind of brew a little bit and then come back as a new generation of metal musicians as well in some point. But also, it's fun if we and other old metal acts can stay together long enough to see that new high one day.
Exactly.
But because the metal fans are really great, and they keep this scene live, and I'm really thankful for that, of course.
Absolutely.
There are older bands than we are, like Halloween, Stratovarius, and they're still around.
They're still going.
Touring and going strong, and they never went anywhere. They've seen the highs and lows before.
Yeah.
And this is just another phase, and it'll, there'll be a new wave coming shortly.
Actually, it's funny that you mentioned this wheel, because it seems like, I know on your side of the world, it seems like, as you said, it's on its way down before it comes back up. And the States over here, or North America rather, it seems like that wheel's starting to come up a little bit, because you have a lot of bands that do combined genres. That's kind of how they are finding their way back up. Like, like the big wave of like black metal that's combining itself with other genres like Knockmistium or Death Heaven, Wolves of the Throne Room. So having said that, do you think that kind of resurgence will find its way over to your side as well? Like, what's that kind of scene like over in Europe?
I think Europe is going more towards this disco thing and that kind of rap stuff at the moment.
Right.
I see it that way, really. And I think, US has been for a long time more into this extreme metal than what we have in Europe.
Right.
Of course, it's been big there as well, but here, especially when we've been touring, it's been really difficult for us to find other bands to open for us that are like even closely in the same genre. We mostly get like
they're not really
extreme metal bands. It's like most of the local bands that come and open for you, they are extreme metal, and same if you take a local like North American band as a tour support. They mostly and usually are something way more extreme than we are.
Right.
So it's been sometimes really odd to go on stage, after something really extreme, and then we come and introduce the softer side of metal in a way. We have a lot of ballads and stuff like that, but it's Europe is a little different, I think, musically. But,
you don't think there's going to be like that kind of fight to have to like combine genres to keep up at the head of the pack in Europe at all, right?
Yeah, well, I really can't say. I'm not smart enough. I don't follow the scene that much, but hopefully, because it's combining and finding new ways to make music. It's really important, of course. But I think it's getting more and more complicated for labels to market these bands because every band seems to have a new genre and their own genre. So and for us even it's impossible because we are not purely power metal.
Right.
Really. We have so many other things happening, but still they market us as a power metal band.
Right.
And then a lot of people who are really into power metal, they think that okay, Sonata Arctica, they aren't power metal, and why do they even call that as power metal? And then again, labels claim that people can't find us if we are not called power metal, and so it's really difficult. And I used to fight it for many years and then say that we are something totally different, and but I just gave up. Let them do their stuff, and I just make music that I like myself.
Right. So you don't let the actual labeling thing get to you, because I know like a lot of artists will say, no, we have nothing to do with this genre, but
no, it's useless. It's bullshit, basically.
It's basically
it's marketing tool, nothing more. And of course, it's valuable because of that. But still, it's somehow often really misleading as well. If there are people who really do not understand what they are selling, they shouldn't maybe even try that. And maybe talk with the band what they really want to be.
Yeah.
Because especially for the young band, if they are into jazz, for example, and they are marketed as a blues band,
or like avant-garde or something.
Yeah, they will eventually, they are forced like this square block in a round hole type of situation where you really don't fit, and you really are not purely what they tell you that you are.
Right. So you end up with like Muddy Waters instead of somewhere else. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How are you going to find the right fans? But I don't think you guys have anything to worry about because, again, it's 15 years. You guys are still growing really strong. Your 8th album, of course. And I've seen a lot of people outside with your band's logo clad right all over them. So I think you guys are doing very well.
Yeah, we are hanging, just hanging tough. Just doing it. And then, of course, now getting Posse in the band gives a lot of new blood and energy for the whole band. And the touring is way more fun now. I have someone to go on long walks with, like today we just walked from here to CN Tower and back, and like that's 10 kilometers, which is a nice walk anyway, so almost. And that kind of stuff. It's really important for me. Some of those other guys, they're just, sitting at the venue and in the bus and watching movies, and I can't take that anymore. I'm too old for that.
Because 15 years of sitting, because a lot of people think it's a luxury just touring and stuff. It really isn't. The only luxury is like the hour when you're on the stage, right?
Yeah, if you consider it luxury, to miss your family for 7 weeks, not seeing your kids and everything. So yeah, that's probably a luxury for some, but I don't see it that way. Sleeping in a confined gas chamber of a bus.
Yeah,
and
the oven basically.
Yeah, and then eating whatever wherever, and screaming your lungs out every night on stage.
Yeah.
Which is the fun part of the whole thing, of course, the shows and being in front of the people. That's what you're there to do. But all the rest time, the downtime, which is like 22 hours of the day.
Right.
That's getting to you, on a long tour, really.
Absolutely. I believe we have to wrap things up. But before we go, you went on this nice long walk to the CN Tower. What was the nicest thing that both of you saw while you went on your trek?
Well, the CN Tower.
Was it the actual CN Tower?
Area, yeah. And then shooting some video and taking photos and stuff like that. I've been up there as well on previous tours, but didn't get a chance.
First time in Canada, so.
Oh, well, welcome.
Thank you.
So, yeah, well, the walk itself, it was nice seeing all the neighborhoods, Chinatown and Little Italy here, and
absolutely,
and then the downtown area. So it's just the walk itself. Yeah, it's the reward of the whole thing.
Absolutely, and luckily you had a chance to be able to do that. And I thank you very much for this opportunity.
Hey, thank you.
It was nice to meet you.
Cheers, man.
And so, yeah, they sounded like really nice guys, and you all got along together. And as you were saying, I think if you kept talking and you didn't have restrictions, you guys could have just kept going on for a few more hours.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the fact that they're really open about metal in general, especially kind of the fact that metal is a trendy genre, that it does have its ups and downs. They're open about that, and I'm sure you'll find musicians that are very, very against talking negatively about music at all, where they'll kind of put on blinders and say, "I don't know what you're talking about," but Tony was very open about the fact that, yes, metal isn't for everyone. Yes, it does have its rotations, whether it's relevant or if it isn't, but they're still going. And
the one thing I found that was interesting from the interview was that he said it was difficult to find acts to open for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how did they come across Delaine and Xandria?
Well, Xandria's been around for a while, actually. They've rotated lead singers a number of times. That I didn't actually recognize them at first. I was there and I was like, "Oh, what band is this?" I was like, "Oh my goodness, that's Xandria. That's not the singer I remember." They're not a band I really got heavily into, but I just knew of them because, again, I was part of metal circles, so I've heard all these names floating around. I'm not sure how they got them, but they couldn't have gotten better picks because, first of all, Xandria and Delaine are so alike, and I don't mean it in a bad sense, but I mean like they complemented each other so well because they both have female vocalists that have a little bit of operatic training. Xandria was more operatically inclined than Delaine, but Delaine still had a little bit there. They were more rock based, I guess, like more heavy. But they're just both so similar, and they're so similar to Sonata Arctica in general that it didn't honestly seem like that a tough time finding these opening acts because it just seemed like effortless picks. Like, aha, we know exactly who we want, you and you. So I guess it did a really good job there, right?
Yeah, no, sounds great. And you had a good time too with your review, and people can find that on Live in Limbo as well.
Yep, and the interview should be up fairly soon. It's actually wrapping up.
Like the whole video interview will be up.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can see all of their faces and Andreas's face.
Which I don't know why you want to see that, but they're Scandinavian. They're far better looking than I am.
I know. I wish I was Scandinavian.
That's why I'm learning Swedish. It's not, but I actually am learning Swedish.
We should go to Sweden.
I really want to go to Sweden. That's like my number one place to go to.
Is it like still like a black metal like pot that's growing and brewing?
Well, Sweden's not really black metal, I guess. It is inclined to a lot of metal bands. Like obviously you have Meshuggah, you have Opeth. But even music as a whole, like you have Licky Lee and The Knife, which sadly have broken up, I believe, or on the verge of it.
Licky Lee broke up?
No, The Knife.
Oh, The Knife, yes.
Yeah, they were saying that they were doing their last performance, I think, but people don't know if they mean for this tour or just period, which kind of sucks because I would like to see the Knife live. They're really good. No, but they're just musically inclined nation, I guess. But like black metal.
We should just spend like a month or two there and just stay in their music scene.
I might even just end up moving there at this point. I mean,
oh really?
I love the film scene there. I love the music scene there.
I didn't know this. Like, how high of a priority is this?
not very high, but it's at a point where if I end up going there and I like it enough, I might actually do that because it seems really cool.
Oh my god! So I'm down, editor.
Well, this isn't gonna happen anytime soon.
No, okay.
I mean, like when I retire.
You can be. Oh, okay. But
Like
you could be our Swedish correspondent.
Yeah. Hey, I can't speak too much Swedish. I could kind of speak a little bit, like
we can still do the podcast.
And katten är in hatten, which basically means the cat is in the hat. And that's kind of like the basic level I'm at right now.
Well, that's good to know. Like you're educating people on this podcast right now.
Yeah, I could teach you how to say the cat's in the hat. And
say it one more time.
And katten är in.
There we go.
And katten är i hatten. There we go.
All right.
If you want to say bye, it's Heido. So
Heido. Oh yeah, we did that with Little Dragon.
Exactly. Well, again, I was still learning Swedish. I'm a little bit better now, but I'm still very far away.
I wonder if they get offended when you try to do that.
No, the fact that you're actually trying. I mean, if you said, "Hey, I'm really good. Listen to this," right? And then he said, like, or not even just that. If you just said like nonsense, that's kind of like that's kind of offensive. But if you say, "I'm learning," can you tell me how I'm doing? I don't see why that's an offensive thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's end off the show on a novelty news kind of thing.
Speaking of offending, actually, you could. I'm better at segueing than you are. You need to follow my leads. No, I'm kidding.
All right, yeah, this is your topic. So, Mr. Kanye West.
Mr. Kanye West. It's getting so hard to justifiably, of course, defend your honor because you are
the voice of the generation.
Oddly enough, yes, because he does kiss his own ass and follow his own ego way too much, but at the same time he's pulling a Muhammad Ali where if you see it in a different light, you can kind of see why it's such an infectious kind of mentality. It's interesting. I mean, like in a music sense, he's done mostly great things, and when he does stuff like this, but here's the thing: was it as bad as people have said? If you didn't know what happened right before a song of his. Like he started the song, he stopped it, and he basically said, "Hey, I'm not going to continue until everyone is standing," and I mean everyone. So everyone was standing, and then there were two people in the audience that he basically was saying, "Hey, why aren't you standing?" Now during all this,
he saw them,
especially with those ugly ass glasses he had on. No, I'm kidding. But it's interesting because like. During all this, he did say if you are in like a wheelchair and stuff, you don't have to. The one thing he did say during all this, though, which I actually find to be the most offensive part, is that he did say if you're all in a wheelchair, that's cool. First of all, that's far from cool. But I do get what he means. But just he could have worded that a lot better. I mean, wow, that was bad. But yeah, so basically there were two.
He's not a man that thinks before he speaks.
Obviously not. But yeah, so it was one of the people confirmed he was in a wheelchair, and the other person like waved their prosthetic leg to say, "I can't really stand that well."
God, that's terrible.
Like the whole time you were standing there, it's like, why aren't you guys standing? This is the longest I've had to wait. I mean, come on, guys. And then eventually he saw they were handicapped and said, "Oh, okay, sorry, guys. All right, let's start." Bam, the song started. Now, again, a lot of people are like, "Oh, Kanye West, he's always topping himself with how bad he is." I honestly think he's done worse because, like, again, how could you see the fact that they were handicapped? Like, it's really difficult. But I guess in the first place, the fact that he refused to do a song until everyone stood is kind of stupid. And the fact that he said, if y'all in wheelchairs, that's cool. That's really stupid. To me, that's the worst part of it all. I do get what he meant, but again, phrasing. But is it really as bad as some of the things that he said? Like, it ain't easy being on stage. It's like being a soldier out in the war. I think that's a lot worse, actually.
It's like very difficult for him.
Matt, you don't know how hard it is, right?
Like coming from his lifestyle, you don't know how hard that is.
Oh, well, we're not going to go down there, but What do you think? Do you think this is as bad as people have said? I mean, of course it is bad.
This is as bad as when I was at the Linkin Park show with Sarah and Jared Leto from 30 Seconds to Mars. During their opening set, he stops the show and he points out a guy in the audience and he's like, if you don't, you in the Billy Talent shirt, if you don't start jumping up and down with the rest of this crowd, I'm going to continue and I'm going to kick you out. And then he just kept continued to make fun of this poor guy who turned out to be my friend's friend, and he was there with his fiance.
But he wasn't handicapped.
No, but still, like picking out a guy and stopping your whole show for that is like not cool. And then in Kanye's case, to pick on people who are handicapped makes it even worse.
Well, he wasn't. Again, here's what I find is like kind of the issue. The fact that I think people are saying that he was like, okay, the part that I said was offensive. I do think that's kind of offensive to handicapped people. But if he didn't see that they were handicapped, is he really offending?
Why does he care people? Though? But like, you know these people paid to be there. If they want to sit, they can sit.
Well, that's the whole. That's also a whole different story. I think that's ridiculous in the first place. But if he's going to go down this route, right? Like, okay, so I don't think that he's making fun of them for being handicapped. I don't think that's the case at all.
He just didn't know. It's arrogance.
Yeah. Ignorance and arrogance, of course. Because it's kind of like this whole thing where it's like if you listen to Howard Stern, they cover this kind of thing a lot, where it's like, if you call somebody a jerk or something, but they're in a wheelchair, is it wrong just because they're in a wheelchair? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the territory this is entering. But at the same time, like, again, the fact that he said, y'all handicap at school, that's ridiculous. The fact that he singled them out, that's ridiculous. And here's where I think that it gets kind of bad. Not the fact that he kind of singled them out and they happen to be handicapped, but this is where I think it's kind of like the most touching, apart from what I said before. Now everyone's aware that they're handicapped, which I think that's kind of the sore thumb a lot of people have, because that's kind of like, have they not had enough their entire lives kind of having this pointed out to them?
Yeah.
And now it's like you have Kanye West in front of like thousands of people basically saying, oh, you guys can sit because you're handicapped, right? Which, again, I don't think that was something that he meant to be offensive about, again. But at the same time, I can understand people's point of view from that angle, because now the entire song, people are going to be saying, oh, that's where the handicapped people were, and like as if that wasn't pointed out enough for them, right? But I still don't think that's like the worst thing he's done.
What else? Well, it's pretty up there.
I don't know, because he's done some really bad things. I mean, again, the whole soldier thing was, I think, possibly his worst.
Like, what else has he done?
Oh, he's done a lot of things. Like, okay, what do you think of like the whole hurricane thing where he said George Bush doesn't care about black people? What do you think of something like that?
That was pretty bad. I think I saw that live too.
But do you think it's bad, or do you think at the same time, again, the way he approached the situation was bad, but he had a point?
No, maybe he has points, but he does it at the wrong time.
He doesn't just
and
do it
in the
at
wrong
the
situation.
Never mind just those two things. He just doesn't know how to say things, period. Like that's
he doesn't think before he speaks.
Right, but I guess at this point, I guess now I'm clarifying the fact for myself that this new stunt is kind of bad, because none of this had actual relevance, whereas like the George Bush thing was badly done, but he had kind of a point. The Taylor Swift thing was badly done, but he had kind of a point. Again, why does virtually everyone need to stand? Like, who cares, right? I guess he does. It's the longest I've had to wait. Actually, the more I'm talking about it, the more I'm actually getting annoyed by this.
Yeah,
Truth be told,
that's not.
The deeper I dig, the more I realize that this actually could be pretty bad.
It is pretty bad.
On paper, it didn't seem that bad, but like the more I'm looking into it, yeah, it's actually getting worse.
Oh, Kanye West.
I still like your music though, and
see, it's hard to hate these people. Like, you want to hate them, but you can't, because they actually make good music.
Well, I did write an article on the separation of artists and their craft, which, if you haven't seen it, it's based on Blake Judd of Knockmistium, where he's basically ripped off fans, labels, musicians, everybody, because he basically said he was selling merchandise. He never ended up giving the merchandise, but he kept the money that people gave. And he actually got arrested for it. And Knock Mystium ended up breaking up because of this kind of negative attention. And I know a lot of people don't like the new album, The World That We Left Behind. I do. Sorry, subjective again. But the point is, I wrote it because I did like the art, or I did like the album, and I had to separate the artist from the art because I don't think he's a good role model at all. Like, he's a jackass, that guy, right? But he made a good album. And I wrote like a whole article on like Phil Spector, other musicians that have done the same things. Tim Lambesis, rather, of As I Lay Dying, that just got arrested earlier this year for trying to put a hitman on his wife.
Oh boy.
The guy from Lost Prophets who did things I don't even want to talk about. But, like, if you want to check that out, you could put that in the show notes, I guess. It kind of plays to this whole thing. Like, should you hate Kanye West even if you like his music?
You can.
Yeah, but like, are you hating him or his music? You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference there.
They don't like him as a person, but as an artist, maybe.
Right.
Oh, well.
And I guess before we wrap things up, just as like a slight hint for something, Kanye West, in a positive light, will be mentioned at something at the end of the year, which I won't tell you what it is, but it's pretty big. It's going to be possibly the biggest thing I've done article-wise for Live in Limbo. I've been working on it for months. A hint is Kanye West in a positive light, and other film people and musicians of the like. You'll see what it is. It's going to be a grand spiel, and I hope it turns out well.
I can't wait to see it either.
Well, you know what it is.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm just saying. I can't wait to see the full thing.
Yeah, hopefully it's good. So look forward to that at the end of the year.
And so you got another show and interview coming up as well with Deaf Heaven.
Yes, I'm actually really glad that you brought this up because I think it
That's in like a few days. That's on like Friday.
yeah, it is. And I'm actually really excited for it. It's a nice indicator of how we've come along, like this year alone, where we tried to cover their show even. And I guess they already had all the media people they needed. So they kind of passed on us. But now it's like we're covering their show. We're interviewing them in person. Like, this was like a few months later.
Yep.
It's a good indicator. I mean, we've come pretty far. I mean, we're hitting like over 1 million views a month now, almost on average.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's pretty, everything is going very well right now.
Yep. Well, we can only go up from here.
Exactly. Yeah.
Got an exciting podcast interview coming up with Laguna Coil, I believe.
Yes, that's right. And we'll still find out like times on that. And I have a bunch of other artists that we plan to bring back onto the show. We haven't been doing too many interviews like on the podcast recently, like we were, but because I just want to talk to you. Like, I wanted the podcast to fit our schedule, but I guess now, it's an experiment. Yeah,
well, I mean, we've still got like in-person interviews going on. Like, we had Sonata Arctica, we had New Pornographers. We're going to have Deaf Heaven. Like, it's not like we've put everything to a halt. We've just dabbled here and there because we're still pretty young with this kind of action we've been taking. So we've been experimenting, seeing what's working out. It's all good.
All is well. And where can all of our listeners find you, Andreas?
You could find this black bull over here at Andreas Babs on Twitter.
And you can find myself at Sean Chin. You can follow the show at Live in Limbo and use the hashtag Capsule Podcast to join in on the conversation. Please subscribe to the show on iTunes. And as always, you can find the show notes at liveinlimbo.com/capsule. Take care.
Have a good one.